Chapter 6. A Song on the Tracks. The freight train clattered along the endless tracks, each metallic clang a reminder of motion without destination. The countryside rolled past, empty and indifferent. Inside a weathered boxcar, the air was thick with the mingling scents of rust, oil, and regret. Cody Steele sat slumped against the wall, his white suit now stained red. A stark, cruel reminder of the chaos that had chased him here. His hand rested on a nickel-plated .45, not out of intention but instinct. His eyes were closed, his body heavy with exhaustion and a pain too deep to name. The shrill wail of the train's whistle jolted him back. He sat up sharply, his eyes narrowing at the sudden silhouette framed in the open doorway. A man stood there, older, African-American, his frame wiry but tough, like a tree that had weathered every storm. His face was a roadmap of survival, every crease a story. Cody's grip on the gun tightened, his arm raising just enough to make the warning clear. The man froze, his hands instinctively lifting in peace. "Hey now," the man said, his voice calm, measured. "I'm just looking for a place to sit out the ride. Name's PJ." Cody's eyes stayed locked on him, calculating. Seconds passed. Then with a slow nod, the barrel of the gun dipped just slightly. "You ride these a lot?" Cody's voice was hoarse, scraped raw by whiskey and weariness. PJ stepped carefully into the boxcar, the sunlight outside casting long shadows as he eased closer. "More than I'd like to admit," he said. "You." Cody's jaw tensed, his shoulders shifting under the weight of unspoken truths. "Not often." PJ leaned against the opposite wall, his movements deliberate, as if not to spook a skittish animal. "We're heading west," he offered, his voice light but probing. "Good," Cody said, a single word that carried an entire world of relief. The train's rhythm filled the silence between them, a relentless backdrop to the quiet wariness in the boxcar. PJ gestured toward a spot across from Cody. "Mind if I sit?" Cody glanced at him, then motioned with the gun. A lazy flick of the barrel that said, "Suit yourself." PJ lowered himself onto the floor with the slow grace of a man who had learned the art of surviving on his own terms. His gaze wandered to Cody's bloodied suit, but lingered there only a moment before shifting upward. "Looks like you've had one hell of a day," PJ said, his tone conversational but not casual. Cody exhaled sharply through his nose, a sound caught somewhere between a laugh and a sigh. "You could say that." PJ nodded, leaning back, his hands resting easily on his knees. "We all got our stories, man." Cody let out a dry chuckle, bitter and sharp. "Yeah, mine's just a guy trying to outrun his bad luck." "You and me both," PJ said. "I was a jazz drummer once, played all over New Orleans. Then the gigs dried up, and I picked up a habit I couldn't afford. Life was good, till it wasn't." Cody's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Music's a tough companion." "Ain't that the truth?" PJ said, reaching into his bag with slow, deliberate movements. "You mind?" Cody gave a slight nod, his gun now resting on his knee but still in reach. PJ pulled out a pair of battered drumsticks, their edges worn smooth from years of rhythm and resilience. "Still got these, though," PJ said, holding them up with a faint, almost defiant grin. "Music never really leaves you, does it?" For the first time, Cody fully lowered the gun. His eyes flicked to the drumsticks, then back to PJ's face. "Don't I know it?" PJ's gaze shifted to the guitar case resting beside Cody. "You know how to play that thing?" "About the only thing I do know," Cody said, his tone softening just a fraction. PJ tilted his head, a challenge in his eyes. "Why don't you play me something?" Cody hesitated, his hand lingering on the case. But then, almost without thinking, he flipped the latches and lifted the lid. The 1956 Gretsch 6120 gleamed even in the dim light, its polished surface a stark contrast to the grime of the boxcar. His fingers moved over the strings like they were old friends, finding the opening chords to a song that seemed to rise unbidden from somewhere deep inside. "Chances," Cody said, almost to himself. He began to play, the melody rich and haunting. PJ leaned forward, his drumsticks tapping softly on a crate, catching the rhythm like it was second nature. Cody's voice, low and gravelly, filled the boxcar, Wasting time thinking about you. The lyrics hung heavy in the air, each word dripping with longing. Outside, the Arkansas countryside blurred past, the world moving too fast to care about the men inside this metal cocoon. My horseshoe ring is turning green just because it's mine. The sunlight streamed in through the open door, casting the two men in silhouette. They were impossibly small against the vastness of the landscape, two specks in a world that didn't pause for anyone. Unless by chance, should my chances improve, chances are I'll still be lonely for you. As the final notes lingered, Cody's voice cracked, just slightly, and then fell silent. PJ tapped his sticks one last time before lowering them to his lap. You got something in that song, man, PJ said, his voice low, reverent. Cody nodded, his expression unreadable. Much obliged. For a moment, the only sound was the clattering of the train. Then PJ straightened, his tone turning practical. We're coming up on Texarkana soon. Yeah, what about it? It's hot there, PJ said. The bulls got dogs sometimes. Cody raised an eyebrow. Hot? Bulls got dogs? Hot doggy. PJ cracked a smile. Rail yard authority and their dogs. You see 'em, you run. Cody rubbed the small of his back, wincing. I don't run too well these days. Then you better walk like you know where you're going, PJ said, and pray nobody questions you. Cody's gaze drifted to the horizon, the endless track stretching westward. I need to get to California. Then we get off at the station, walk a mile west, and catch another train at the switch, PJ said. But first, man's got to eat. Cody managed a wry grin. Yeah, sure. The train thundered toward Texarkana, its shadow cutting a jagged path through the sunlit fields. Inside the boxcar, two men sat side by side, small but determined against the vastness of the world waiting beyond.